First, Vaibhav Jindal. He began his earlier stint with the multinational accounting firm RSM Institute Consultancy and was a part of assurance and taxation line of services. Later, he ventured into the newly emerging law of insolvency. He has prior working experience with the following multinational professional firms: BDO Construction Advisory LLP, PwC Professional Services LLP. He holds a diverse multidisciplinary experience and is currently acting as a partner to a leading firm in India in the domain of business reconstruction services. So second speaker is Garima Jindal. She holds a past experience of working in KPMG in the indirect taxation line of service. She possesses a rich experience in the field of indirect taxation, audit, assurance services, and corporate financial advisory services. Her expertise lies in the dealing with the top-level discussion makers, identifying and resolving of critical problem areas and delivering on client commitment, a versatile professional with focus on delivering integrated solution to clients through collective team efforts, backed by an entrepreneurial attitude and analytical mind. So thank you everyone. So now I will hand over to the speakers. Over to you, Garima Jindal and Vaibhav Jindal.
Thank you, Saket, and good afternoon, everyone. Here we are with another session with Cisco regarding the startups compliances to be fulfilled by startups. Various types of startups, like in the last session we have discussed, like for a startup, it can be registered under various entities, like whether it can be a company, it can be an LLP, it can be a partnership. So now in this session, we'll be throwing light upon the compliances. Compliances as in what are the taxes, what are the returns to be fulfilled by various type of entities under Income Tax Act, under GST, and under Companies Act. So now starting with, we will first of all see, like the major question was from the candidates in last session was whether we should register as an LLP or whether we should register as a company. So in that session also, we have thrown light upon that what is a company, what is the difference between a company and an LLP. So now here, continuing with the last session, we are here to give knowledge about the compliances, the returns, monthly compliances, yearly compliances, and the filings which are to be done by companies as well as which are to be done by an LLP. So what are the acts which we will be covering or the laws? Because see, there are many laws which are to be complied by any entity. But in this presentation, we will focus upon only 3 laws. First will be under GST, under Income Tax Act, and under Companies Act and Limited Liability Partnership Act. So basically, we are going to cover this area ki if any startup is going to be incorporated as a company. So what are the compliances under Income Tax Act? What are the compliances under Goods and Service Tax Act? What are the compliances under Companies Act which are to be fulfilled by that company? Similarly, we will also discuss here about the compliances to be fulfilled under Income Tax Act, under GST, and under Companies Act by an LLP. So this session is all about only 2 entities because like in last session, we understood that the major question is that whether we should go by a company or whether we should go by an LLP. So this session will also turn out to be fruitful because it will make going through the compliances, you will understand that whether you will have to register as a company or as an LLP. So now, first of all, we'll see what are the yearly compliances to be fulfilled by companies under Companies Act. So here, first of all, we'll see ki if a startup is going to register as a company. So under Companies Act, there are some compliances. There are some things which are to be fulfilled by that company. So Companies Act says, first of all, startup, if you register as a company, you have to appoint an auditor. So it is the first auditor has to be appointed within 30 days of incorporation of that entity. So basically, if any startup is registered in January, so within 30 days, like if it is registered on 4th January, so within 30 days, a form is to be filled, which is called as ADD1. And what is the relevance of this form? The relevance is that the appointment of auditor is done through this form. And it is just a one-time process. Like if the company is a new company, so first auditor has to be appointed within 30 days. However, after that, the auditor can be appointed like once in a 5 years, it has to be appointed. It is not that every year you have to do the appointment of auditor. Like when the company is incorporated, appoint the auditor within 30 days. And then again, after 30 days, when the confirmation is done of that auditor, the auditor will be there for 5 years. So basically, Form 881 is to be filled for a new entity within 30 days of the incorporation of that entity. So this is one form. Then second comes a very easy compliance, not a major thing to be done. It is like just about the board meeting and the annual general meeting. First, showing upon what is a board meeting. Can anybody just guess what is a board meeting? Like we have very much heard about this term board meetings. Reliance की board meeting हो रही है, Tata की board meeting हो रही है. What is board meeting? Anybody?
A meeting between all the board members regarding the progress which they have done or the
Correct.
discussing the future plan.
Correct. So basically, a board meeting is in which the directors of the company come around the table and they discuss about the affairs of the company. So now, for a newly created entity, the first board meeting has to be held within 30 days of that incorporation. And then in a year, the Companies Act says that you have to organize 4 board meetings. So board meetings, it is not that always you have to come across the table. You can do it on a video mode also, like video conferencing, that is also allowed as a board meeting. But as per Companies Act, if you are going to be registered as a company, you have to ensure that there are 4 board meetings and 1 annual general meeting in which the shareholder of the companies also come across the table and the discussions regarding the company are made. Then the third point is about the statutory registers and books of accounts. Like it is a company has been registered as a startup has been registered as a company. So now comes the like what are the books of accounts? What is books of accounts? Books of accounts is basically what are the documents which are to be maintained. So as per Companies Act, this is the 4 categories which we have bifurcated of the documents which are to be maintained by the companies. Like these records are mandatorily to be maintained if you are going to be registered as a company. One is the statutory registers. Statutory registers are the registers under like various statutes, and Companies Act also tells about a statutory register. Then there is a minutes book. Now what is minutes book? Minutes book is nothing. It is just ये जो board meetings होती हैं, in this board meetings, whatever is discussed, that is written down. That in first board meeting this all was discussed. In second board meeting this all was discussed. In third board meeting this all was discussed. So minute book is nothing. This is very easy. This is just writing down all the discussions which were made in the board meeting and AGM. Then third is books of accounts and financial statements. Like what is this? Now what is books of accounts? What is financial statements? Financial statements are a balance sheet and P&L. So what they say is that you have to maintain your books of accounts. Like properly, you have to maintain your sales, you have to maintain your purchases, you have to maintain your loans and everything. Like whatever transactions are done under the company, under the name of company, they have to be properly documented. They have to be properly recorded. So this is what we call as books of accounts. Like if the company is making any sale, that should be done under a proper document. If the company is making any purchase, it should be made under a proper document. If the company is accepting any loan, or somebody is investing any funds, or there is a transfer of shares, so everything has to be properly recorded, and that is called as books of accounts of the company has to be very much proper. Then there is a register of director attendance in which everything about the director is written. What like particulars like the directors of the company, their address, their personal details. Then it is also written that how many board meetings they have attended, whether they were present in the first board meeting, whether in the second board meeting, third or fourth. Because Companies Act is very particular that the directors have to attend the board meetings. There is a limit that of the 4 board meetings, like if you're going to attend 4 board meetings, then there's a restriction that the director cannot skip many board meetings. So basically that is why they have required to maintain a register, director attendance register. So third compliance is basically that if a startup is going to register as a company, you have to maintain minute books, you have to maintain books of accounts, and you have to maintain register of director attendance. Now, what I will say is that minute book is a thing which is very easy to be maintained. Then director attendance is also very easy to be attained. What is to be focused on is this point. This is books of accounts and financial statements. This is a very important document, like, because financial statements are balance sheet and P&L. These documents are very, very important, which should be properly recorded by companies. Then fourth point, as per Companies Act, is basically that companies will send to their members of the company's approved financial statement, director report and auditor report at least 21 days before the AGM. Like in the second point, we have discussed that there is an AGM. What is an AGM? AGM is something in which our shareholders also come. Because directors को सब कुछ पता है. Directors know everything, whatever is going in the company. But shareholders of the company, like the people who have invested their funds in the company, they are not aware of the affairs of the company, the things which are happening in the company. That is why an AGM is held. So what they say is that as per Companies Act, if a company is there, so that company has to give 3 documents to the shareholders, to its members before AGM. What are the documents? The documents are the financial statement of the companies, the audit report of the company, and the director's report of the company. So basically, these are 4 compliances, though it seems that these are very big compliances, but they are very easy. And as such, it appears that it is very much cumbersome, but it is very, very easy. Like form ADT1 filing, this is a one-time process, because for 5 years you have to file it once. Then second comes the board meeting. Nothing is to be done in this. We have to just comply. ROC, Companies Act, does not say कि board meeting हमें दिखा के करो. It is just a mere compliance that 4 board meetings should be there, 1 AGM should be there. Then importantly, the financial statements have to be very much properly maintained. Financial statements have to be properly prepared, like books of accounts, everything has to be properly recorded. This is very important. And then circulation of documents, this is also a very easy compliance, nothing to be afraid of. Now, moving on, next comes the compliances which are to be fulfilled by companies under Companies Act. But here it is like there are some forms to be filled. Like these compliances, like compliance this, last 3 compliances, these were procedural compliances. That company, you have to do this. But in this, what is the difference? The difference is that there are set forms. There is set form which has to be filled. Like there is an income tax return, which we must all be aware that there is an income tax return in which we declare the income and we tell the government that, see, this is our income. Similarly, for companies, there are some forms, like income tax return is also a form. Similarly, these are also few forms which are to be filled mandatorily by companies. And these are very easy forms in which, like, the information is not much, but these are to be filled by companies. Why? Because it is mandatorily to be required under Companies Act. Now, what are these forms? Let us have a quick look. And a very important point to note that these are not the forms which you have to fill every month. And this is the best part. This is the thing which is very easy. Like once the balance sheet is finalized, these forms are to be filled only once in a year. It is not that you have to fill them every month or every quarter. These forms are to be filled once in a year. So first of all, to first form, if we move, it is MGT7 as the name says. What is MGT7? MGT7 is nothing, a file, a form in which the annual return of the company is filled. And in this form, when this form is to be filled, it is to be filled within 60 days of the AGM. Like we have discussed here that the company has to organize an AGM. So like the company, if the company has organized the AGM on 30th September, so in 30th September, after within 2 months, this form is to be uploaded, which is called as MGT7, in which some particulars about the company, about the financial statements of the company are given. So this is a form which is to be filed yearly, once in a year. Then again, there is another form, AOC4. AOC4, similarly, it is to be filed only once in a year. and this form is in which the balance sheet which is finalized is as it is given, as it is informed, copy pasted under AOC4. So this is also a very simple form, AOC4. This is also to be filled only once in a year. What all the documents are given in this? File the financial statements, that is balance sheet, जो आपकी balance sheet होती है, company's balance sheet, along with statement of profit and loss account and director reports. So 3 documents are covered under this AOC4. One is balance sheet, one is profit and loss account, and next is director's report. Then comes MBP1. This is also a form which is to be filled by director. Now, this is a form which is not to be filled by companies, but this is a compliance which is to be made by directors of the companies. So, what is this MBP1? MBP1 is that every director of the company, in first meeting of the board of directors in each financial year, like we know there have to be 4 board meetings. So in the first board meeting, every director has to disclose his interest in other entities by filing this form MBP1. So MBP1 is not a compliance which is to be made by companies. Companies को ये form नहीं fill करना है. This is a form which is to be filled by directors. And when this form is to be filled, this form is to be filled in the first meeting. जो board of directors की first meeting होगी, in that disclosing our interest. What is the meaning of interest here? Interest is basically your shares. Like supposingly I am a director in a X company. So if I am also holding shares in Y company, so I have to inform X that see, I'm holding shares in Y limited also. I'm holding shares in Z limited also. So this is a form which is to be filled by directors. This is not a compliance on companies. Then there is DIR 8. What is DIR 8? This DIR 8 is also again a form which is to be filled by only directors. Like it is not a compliance for companies, it is a compliance for the directors of the companies only. And in this form, they have to disclose that they are not disqualified to be the director of the company. कि जो आने वाला साल है उसमें भी we are not disqualified to be the director of the company. It is not very easy to be a director of any company. You have to fulfill certain criteria. So every year that criteria is checked, and the Companies Act says that you have to inform me that you are qualified to be the director of the company every year. So what we can see here is that out of these 4 forms, these 2 forms are the forms which are to be filled by companies. So there are only 2 forms. One is MGT 7 and one is AOC 4, which is to be filled by companies out of this slide. These two forms are filled by directors. And when they are to be filled, again, they are to be filled only once in a year. MBP1 is also to be filled once in a year. DIR 8 is also to be filled once in a year. MGT 7 once in a year, and again AOC 4 once in a year. So I don't think this appears to be a cumbersome process because this is very simple. This is to be complied only once. When it is like you have to file forms monthly. So Companies Act have made it very simplified for companies that they have said that you have to file the forms only once in a year. Then moving forward, there are 3 more forms. One is DPT3. Now DPT3 is a form which is again to be filled by companies. This is a form to be filled by companies in which the deposits which are in the company, like deposits is basically that it is a return of deposits that companies do furnish the information that see, we have accepted this deposit from this person. We will return to this person. This is the nature of loan. So DPT3 is a form which is to be filled again only once. This form is to be filled only once, and this is to be filled by company. So DPT3, this is to be filled. This is the 3rd form which you have to fill for companies. Then comes DIR3 KYC form. This is a form which is for directors. This is a form which is for directors. This is the 3rd form for directors, in which basically the KYC of the directors is corrected. Now, what is KYC? If anybody can tell me, what is KYC? Like, this is a very common term.
Know your customer.
Know your customer. And what is the purpose of this? Like, what is the purpose of this? Like, we've seen banks also, they're doing KYC.
Authentication might be reason.
Yeah, correct. It is an authentication. They have to check that whether the person who is dealing with us is a genuine person or not. Matlab, there should not be fake identities being created. So, in order to ensure that the genuinity of the person, the companies act has said that every year the director have to do the KYC. And this is, I will say, though the name appears to be DIR3 KYC, but this is just a 2-minute process. Yes, this is very, very simple for directors. Director KYC, this is nothing. What is done? We log in on the portal, then we click a button that we have to do the KYC. We get an OTP and we write that OTP over the portal and the KYC is done. That's it. So I don't count this director KYC as a compliance because this is not a compliance. This is just a 2-minute process to be done. This is very, very simple. And then last part is the statutory audit part. Like supposingly a startup has considered, has incorporated as a company. So they have to get their stat audit to be done. Statutory audit is nothing that auditor has to be appointed and they will do their compliances using that. So basically for companies, irrespective of the turnover, they have to get their statutory audit done so that the financial statements like the balance sheet and the P&L which is prepared, that represents a true and fair view or not. Like supposingly a startup in the first year, it has incurred loss. So whether statutory audit is to be done or not, yes, it has to be done. Like statutory audit is the audit which has to be mandatorily done by a company. So basically, if we again go through the points, we can see that these three are only procedural things which are to be fulfilled by companies. Like in a year, 4 board meetings should be there, 1 AGM should be there, books of accounts should be very much proper. Then there should be circulation of the documents. Then if we come to the forms, there are mainly 3 forms which are to be filled by companies. And these 3 forms are also only once in a year. Like once in a year, you have to file MGT 7 in which the annual return is given. Then in once in a year, you have to file AOC 4. And once in a year, you have to file DPT 3. Then again, for directors of the companies, there are 3 forms. These 3 forms are in which the director tells about their interest, they tells about their non-disqualification, and they tell about and they do their KYC. That's it. So total there are 6 forms. And lastly, under Companies Act, there is an audit thing which is to be done mandatorily by the company. Whether it is incurring profits or not, you have to get your stat audit done. So this was all about companies compliances to be done under Companies Act. We have covered one act, which is Companies Act, in which we came to know that there are 3 forms, basically only 3 forms which are to be filled by companies. And these forms are not to be filled on a daily basis. They have to be filled only once in a year. Then going forward, if we come about income tax, like in income tax, what is your view? What must have been the compliances? Like if supposingly your startup is registered as a company, what do you guys think? Like from a general perspective, in Income Tax Act, what can be the compliances? From a general perspective, like you are going to incorporate your entity as a startup, as a company. So what can be the income tax compliances? On a simple note, we can say this is a thing which everybody know that income tax में income tax की return तो भरनी ही भरनी होगी. So this is a very simple thing. Like if we are going to register our startup as a company or we register as an LLP, in both the cases we have to file income tax return. And how many times in a year the income tax return is filed? Like you guys also, in a year, how many times do you file your income tax return? Is it once? Is it twice? How many times? Anybody? Like to be, since like just as an individual has to file the income tax return once in a year, similarly Income Tax Act says that companies, you also file your income tax return only once in a year. So basically there is yearly filing of income tax return. It is not monthly, it is not quarterly, it is just once in a year you have to file your income tax return. But then there are few more things. One is the advance tax liability. This is an important thing. Now, supposingly I have a startup and I have incorporated it as companies. Now, before telling about this, one thing to be very clear that in Income Tax Act and in GST, whether your entity is registered as a company or whether your entity is registered as an LLP, there is no difference under Income Tax Act and under GST. The compliances which are for companies are exactly same for LLP, whether it is under Income Tax Act or whether it is under GST. They do not make a distinction कि आपकी entity if it is companies so income tax में ज़्यादा compliances होंगी. It is not like that. The compliances under Income Tax Act, the compliances under LLP Act, the compliances under GST, under both the acts, the compliances are exactly same whether you register as a company or whether you register as an LLP. So the compliances are exactly same. So like if we have a company or we have an LLP in which our tax, yearly tax comes out to be 10,000 or more, we estimate, and we say कि जी हमारा tax तो 10,000 से above बनेगा, then this is an important thing that whether you are a company or whether you are an LLP, if your income tax is going to be more than 10,000, you have to deposit an advance tax. Now, what is this advance tax? This advance tax has to be deposited quarterly. This is basically that this year is going as 21-22 is going on. So if I estimate कि मेरा 21-22 में मेरी startup का जो tax है, जो income tax है, that comes out to be more than 10,000. So what I say is that instead of depositing the tax after a year, I will deposit the tax initially only. Starting में will deposit the tax, and this is called as advance tax. So this is a compliance under income tax that if you have advance tax, you should deposit it quarterly. Like after 3 months, you have to deposit advance tax. So this is a quarterly compliance to be filled. Then again, there is another compliance, tax deducted at source. Now, what is this tax deducted at source? We all must have heard that when we get employed in a company, on job, we get salary, and on this salary, the companies deduct some TDS. That TDS is tax deducted at source. So what they say here is like, now I am a company, now my employees are working for me, so I'm paying them salary, so I am also now liable to deduct TDS from them, their salaries. So what is the compliance? That this TDS which is deducted by companies has to be deposited on 7th of every month. Like for May, the TDS has to be deposited by 7th of June. For June, the TDS has to be deposited by 7th of July, like 7th of the next month. So basically, TDS is a monthly compliance. The tax has to be deposited monthly. But the TDS return, now tax deposit is a separate thing, return filing is a separate thing. So TDS return is also to be filed, and that is filed quarterly. Like in every 3 months, it is filed once. So there are two important things under Income Tax Act. If you are going to be incorporated as a company or LLP, it does not matter. You have to fulfill these compliances. One is advance tax. Advance tax is to be filled in every quarter, like in a year 4 times. Similarly, TDS, the TDS is to be deposited every month. TDS is to be deposited every month, and the TDS return, it has to be filed 4 times in a year. 4 times in a year at the end of every quarter. So this is the compliance for Income Tax Act. One is advance tax, second is TDS, then third comes out is the income tax return. Income tax return is once in a year. You have to file your income tax return. And the fourth point is income tax audit. Now, does it matter for income tax audit whether you are registered as a company or LLP? It does not matter. Income Tax Act does not distinguish whether you are registered as a company or whether you are registered as an LLP. It does not matter to Income Tax Act. So what they say is, see, if your turnover exceeds in a year 1 crore rupees, or like you are into profession and your turnover exceeds, like I'm providing services. So if I'm into a profession, I'm a doctor or I'm a CA, if my receipts exceed 50 lakh rupees, so I have to mandatorily get my books of accounts audited. So this is the perspective from income tax audit. There are other criteria also for getting tax audit done, but I'm not discussing them in detail here. To be very clear, basically income tax audit is to be done mandatorily if the turnover exceeds 1 crore rupees, or if you are into profession, your receipts exceeds 50 lakh rupees. These are two limits for income tax audit. So basically in companies, if we see under Income Tax Act, these are only compliances which are to be filled under Income Tax Act. Like if we say for advance tax will be deposited 4 times in a year. The TDS, it will be deposited every month. TDS return, that will be filed again 4 times in a year. Then income tax audit, that will depend. It is not that every company, every LLP has to do the income tax audit. Like in first year, my turnover was 20 lakh rupees. I will not get the income tax audit done. In second year, my turnover is 70 lakh. I again will not get my income tax audit done. But if my turnover in the third year is 1.5 CR, I will be required to get the income tax audit done. Then fourth point is again the income tax return. Income tax return is to be filed by all, and it is to be filed only once in a year. So this all were the compliances from the Income Tax Act perspective. And these compliances, whether we are registered as company or we are registered as LLP in Income Tax Act, it is not material. These compliances mandatorily have to be fulfilled by both, whether you are company or whether you are LLP. Similarly, in GST also, like we will discuss now compliances GST में क्या करनी होगी, because companies के अंदर Companies Act होगा, Income Tax Act होगा and GST भी होगा. So now from GST perspective, if we see what are the compliances in GST also, whether you are registered as a company or whether you are registered as a LLP, it will not matter. So there it should not matter to you कि companies से जाएंगे तो GST में compliances कम करनी पड़ेंगी, there will be lesser compliances. No, that is not the fact. Whether you register as LLP or whether you register as company, the compliances under GST are same. What is the criteria and what are the compliances? Let us discuss. See, in GST there are two returns which are filed. One is called as GSTR1 and one is called as GSTR3. We don't have to go much dive into the terminology of the terms. We just have to see कि कितनी बार इन्हें फाइल करना होता है. So friends, what I can say is that GSTR1 monthly फाइल करनी है या साल में 4 बार फाइल करनी है, that all will depend on the client and there is a set criteria. But generally what people do is they file their GSTR1 and GSTR1 can be filed 4 times in a year, or the option is given to file for 12 months separately. Then for GSTR3B, which is the second return in GST return, that has to be filed in every month. So one return has to be filed every month, and the second return, the government is given the option, either you file every month or you file once in 3 months. That is quarterly filing will be there. So for GST, if we go for GSTR1, what is GSTR1? So GSTR1 is nothing. It is a sales return. Sales return is basically in which the company will report its sales. What are the sales being made by the company? It is a sales return that is required to be filed by every GST registered person, and it can be monthly, it can be quarterly also. GSTR1 can be monthly or quarterly. Then there is GSTR3B. This is a return which is to be filed monthly. So like in GST, if we get GST number, so GSTR3B, that is going to be monthly, and GSTR1, that can be monthly or it can be quarterly. Then moving forward, there again in GST, there are two compliances. These are the compliances which I will say that this is optional. This is purely optional. What they say is GSTR9. GSTR9 is a summary of GSTR1 and GSTR3B, and GSTR9C. This applies only when the turnover of the company is more than 5 crores. Like GSTR9C is to be filled by only those companies whose sales exceed 5 crore. So in this, they have to fill GSTR9C, which they have to do self-certified. They have to sign in by themselves. So basically what we can count on is that in GST, अगर GST perspective से companies और LLP की बात सोची जाए, so there comes out to be 4 types of returns: GSTR1, GSTR3B, GSTR9 and GSTR9C. GSTR1, it can be monthly also, it can be quarterly also. But if we say GSTR3B, it is monthly. It has to be filled in every month. Then GSTR9, this is once in a year. GSTR9C, This is also once in a year. So basically these returns are once in a year, once in a year, once in a year, and these are monthly. Like GSTR 1, this is monthly or quarterly. Then GSTR 3B, this is to be filed in every month. So basically, this is all about income tax and GST. The compliances under GST and under Income Tax Act, whether you register as Companies Act or whether you register as LLP, will remain same. So please be very clear कि company बनानी है या LLP बनानी है. This should not be distinguished on the basis that Income Tax Act की compliances or GST compliances will be changed. No, they will not be changed. They will remain exactly same. But what the thing will change is your Companies Act compliances. Like in case of companies, we have seen there are 3 forms which are to be filled by companies. There are 3 forms which are to be filled by directors. But in LLP, again, there are some different forms which are filled by companies. So what are the yearly compliances to be fulfilled by LLP under Companies Act? So one is Form 11, which is annual return. Now this is similar form which we were filing under Companies Act also. I'll just show. See, in Companies Act also we have seen MGT 7. There is Form 11. In LLP, there is Form 8. In Companies Act, there is AOC 4. So these forms are same. अब तुम LLP बनाओ और companies बनाओ, the forms are same. See, we can see here, like in case of LLP also, there is an annual return. In case of LLP, there is a Form 8. In Form 8, the statement of accounts and solvency are filed, which is similar to your balance sheet, P&L, everything like this is filed. So there is no major difference in the compliances between company banate ho or we file an LLP. Like just like we have seen in case of companies, there is appointment of auditor. In case of LLP also, there is appointment of auditor. But what the point is that the auditor is to be appointed only if the turnover of LLP exceeds 40 lakh rupees. However, in companies, the auditor has to be mandatorily appointed. Then comes DIR 3 KYC. We have seen earlier in companies also the director has to file KYC form. In LLP also the director has to file the KYC form. They have to file their KYC so that the authenticity is done. So like if we can see, there are 3 forms in for companies under Companies Act. Similarly, there are 3 forms for LLP also under Companies Act. So there is no much difference in compliances whether you register as an LLP or whether you register your entity as a company. So this was all about income tax GST. Now moving to your questions if you have any regarding this. I've just given a summary brief about the yearly compliances which have to be done mandatorily, whether it is companies or whether it is LLP. Any questions from your side?
I have one doubt. Should we
Yeah.
get GST registration or not at this
Sorry?
stage? Should we get GST registration or we should not get GST registration at this stage?
See, it all depends on the business, your customers. Like, what is the purpose of GST? I will just tell what is the basic logic. If an entity gets itself GST registered, the genuinity of that entity is more. Like supposingly there is an investor and that investor has 2 options, whether to invest funds in a startup which does not have a GST number and whether to invest funds in a startup which has a GST number. What do you guys think? That investor should invest in which startup, with a GST number or with a non GST number? The ideas of both the startups are more or less same. What do you think what that investor would do?
I don't know the logic of this GST registration, so I don't know.
The logic of GST registration is what it increases the genuinity of that entity. Like a person relies more that this must be very much genuine. It should not be, the entity is not like it has reported anything in its balance sheet, it has reported anything in its P&L account. Because when an entity pays tax on its sales, so the genuinity of that entity is much more increased. And in many big companies, like if I talk about many FMCG companies like Hindustan Unilever, or we talk about ITC,
main
their
reason why
vendors, the persons from whom they are buying things, they have strictly said that we will deal with you only if you have a GST number. If you don't have a GST number, we are not going to deal with you. So this is a thing which we see that like big corporates, they find very much easy to deal with the entities which are registered under GST. Like in many companies, there is a policy also that we will deal with only those vendors who are GST registered. We will not deal with those vendors who are not GST registered, because many times there are fake transactions which are done. So in order to avoid that, the people prefer to deal with only those entities who are GST registered.
got it. I have one more doubt. If I have PAN number, personal name, PAN number on my personal name, then should I
Okay.
file ITR every year, or it's just optional?
Actually, the criteria is for income tax return, it is your income. Like if your
Okay.
income is exceeding 2.5 lakh rupees, you have to mandatorily file your ITR.
Got it.
That is the basic criteria. Any other question?
Uh, I have one more doubt. Like at this stage, we will be giving stipend to our interns. So, like, while giving stipend, should we deduct any TDS or anything such?
See, for TDS, it will depend on the income which you are paying to your intern. Like supposingly, the yearly stipend is 30K. So the gross yearly income comes out to be more than 3 lakh rupees, which is taxable limit is 2.5 lakh rupees. If their stipend also comes out to be yearly more than 2.5, then you should deduct TDS. Otherwise, there will be no requirement to deduct TDS.
But what
It
if
all depends, like they have to pay the income tax or not, because people generally deduct TDS because see, if I'm paying 30K to somebody per month, so I will say that, see, I'm paying 30K, which is under your taxable, which is above your taxable limit of 2.5 lakhs, so I will just deduct a TDS.
But and if we are hiring that people only for 3 or 4 months?
No, then it would not be required. Then it would not be required. But please make sure that you are hiring them. Hiring them as an employee. You're not hiring them as a professional. When it comes to a professional, and if you pay more than 30,000, then again you have to deduct a TDS. TDS provisions are very stringent on that. For an employee, I am talking, अगर आप employee पे रखते हो तो 2.5 lakh is the limit. But if you are hiring them as a professional, as a consultant to your startup, then 30,000 is the limit. You have to deduct TDS if you pay more than 30,000. I think this point is clear because this is very, very important. This is a thing which people are not much aware. Like, what is the difference between a consultant and what is the difference between an employee, like a person dealing with a startup?
Now it's clear. Thank you.
It's clear. Okay. 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 Any other question? Saket, I think that would be okay. Like if we could just end the session here, if there are no other queries from anybody.
Yeah, Karima.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So just a last call. Like if anybody want to have any queries in mind, you can ask. And here is our contact details. So in case future also, if anything pops up or any compliances, like whether it is related to income tax, GST, or it is related to ROC, please feel free to contact us. These are our details and these are our credentials. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vikram sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Garima, for this wonderful session. I hope that everyone is gets to that, and if everyone has any question, please you can feel free to ask her.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you, Garima. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Saket, and thank you all the participants.